Of course, it's time for the discussion segment of the program. We know that COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted a whole lot of things globally, and so Nigeria cannot be an exception. One of the things that the pandemic has disrupted so much that, how do we call it now, those people, the stakeholders in that area are trying to actually look try to find a solution for is in the area of education. And you know that for so many days now, the kids from nursery, primary, and of course science station couldn't go to school. And right now it is not too clear when they will get back to school. So we are looking at the alternative that has been, that is going on right now all over. That is e-learning, so to say. So the topic for today is COVID-19, e-learning as an alternative to classroom teaching. And so we have a guest in the studio right now, and later on we'll also be joined by a guest in Lagos via Skype. We are working on that. She will be joining us later, but right now we have a guest already in-house. COVID-19, e-learning as an alternative to classroom teaching.
Our guest is Dr. Oluwakemi Olurinola, educational technologist. She is also an educational consultant from the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agowe in Ogun State. She will be telling us, analyzing e-learning, so to say, in Nigeria. Madam, I'll be starting from this point. E-learning, is it new to us in educational sector in Nigeria, or is COVID-19 bringing out the new style of learning in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for having me on this session this morning. E-learning isn't exactly what we would say new in Nigeria, because when we talk about e-learning, we're talking about learning through any electronic technology. And so we've had some form of e-learning. You watch the TV to get educational content is still a form of e-learning. But we know that because of technology advancement, there has been new technologies, applications that have been brought into the school scenarios. We see it's been now becoming a need in the educator sector, yes, because of COVID, but initially it was more like one of the things that we have around and just make use of when available, but we didn't really look at it as a necessity in the educational sector.
So are we, you want to say that right now that because we are pushed to the wall, we are now seeing the benefit of e-learning?
Yes.
And so, how, from what you must have heard, how are the parents taking it?
Well, I'm a parent, so I can speak from my own perspective, and at least from perspective of other parents I know. I think we are embracing it because we know that there's a possibility for our students having a cognitive lag if they are not kept engaged with the academic content for a long while. And so we are appreciative of the fact that schools are with some kind of form or the other looking for how to keep the students engaged academically even at this period. Because that was one of the major concerns when schools were closed down and then the lockdown issues came. Many people were concerned, what will happen? Will these children just be at home all the while doing nothing and the rest? So schools have begun to look at the scenarios play out differently. Different schools are adopting different methodologies and investing differently in it. But at least as parents, we are glad that that is happening and our children have at least a way to still engage with learning even while at home.
Dr. Olurinola, we know that this era is an era of, let me say, we are in the global village. And these children have you've been using the internet, using the mobile phones, Android, and the rest. Do you think it is easy for them to adapt to the situation?
I believe it is easy because one of the concerns also raised was, will the children, will it be, because I was talking, for instance, I was talking to a school owner and she was like, will it be easy for them to use it, all those questions, and I'm like, these kids, we know that they were born, they are technology natives, so it's easy for them to adopt technology. This is something they already use for other means. So like I said, why can't we reach them with what they already know how to do or how to use? So I don't think it's a problem for kids. As long as they have access to it, I'm sure that it will be easy for them to adapt
now,
to the process.
It's looking as if it's elitist in nature now. So what do we do about that? What is the, whether they would like it or not, about 65–70% of primary school students, for example, are public. And I'm sure that this is not done, apart from the DigiClass thing that we'll see by the Ogun State government, maybe some other few state government. That's where the public students, pupils can benefit from. That is if they even have electricity or means of watching. So, isn't this a challenge?
Yes, we have challenges. We would always have challenges, but we don't throw our hands in the air in the presence of challenges. And that's why I also would appreciate what Ogun State is doing with the DigiClass, putting it on every format, both audio for the radios, for those who can watch the TV. But even at that rudimentary level, where we intend to use that area to reach the masses, we know we still have the challenge of electricity. So you may be running your DigiClass at a particular time, and then there may not be electricity in that zone. So, but you see, you've gone a step ahead to also ensure that even after the airing of these programs, there is an online presence. So those who couldn't watch, at the time they have access, they can also look at the videos or watch the classes online. Yes, indeed, we have that gap, that technology access gap. And so there's a tendency, you see, think that it's only elitist schools who can run this e-learning. But one thing I have observed, and at least from data, we see that quite a number of these kids, even in the remote areas, have access to technology, to mobile devices. Okay. So they may not own it. So that's why I use the word have access. They may not own it, but somebody in the family. And our network providers have been able to reach into some of these areas. So there is hope. It's as long as our solutions look at how to address maybe the use of mobile phones and all that, I think we'll be able to reach much more people, much more students, even at that lower level.
Okay, we are looking at the topic this morning, COVID-19, e-learning as an alternative to classroom teaching. We'll be right back.
We are going to at least 500,000 packs, and this is based on the fact that we have about 5 million population in Ogun State, and we're working with about 70% of them may fall into this category. If you don't have yours yet, it's coming to you. But it is for the poor, the vulnerable, and the aged in our community.
It just shows the generosity and kindness of their heart.
I told you earlier on, you're welcome back, that apart from our guest in-house, Dr. Mrs. Oluriola, we'll also be joined by somebody in Lagos talking about via Skype. I'm happy to say that we have been joined by Oluwa Asu, who is a former tutor in FUNAB at the Institute for Human Resources Management. And of course, she has also taught in all tiers of education in Nigeria. And she's a certified homeschool educator and founder Apple Road Baby. Oluwa Asu, you're welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Of course, you know that we are looking at e-learning as an alternative to classroom teaching. From your experience, how has it been, and of course, how manageable has it been from your experience? Let me just put it this way. How is it easy to teach from home?
Yes, sir, that's a fantastic question. We are having this conversation now with me at home, you know, so it's also a testament that this is what our children are doing at home. They can see their teachers, they can receive their lessons, they can even give, you know, contribute in class, either through video or audio. And there's also room to save the video content for them to view later. So far, it's been an ongoing process. It's been working in some ways. There's been challenges in other ways, but it's a welcome development. And you asked me specifically a couple of minutes ago that how are children coping, and she said they were born for a time like this. So that's where we are.
All right, let me ask you this. Let's go into the practical now. What are the things to be done for a teacher, for example, to actually want to engage our students, say pupils of primary 5? What are the things needed for e-learning to be successful as a teacher?
Yes, sir. So there's so many platforms, and what you would consider as a teacher is your target audience. So you're looking at the age of the pupils, you're looking at their environment, you're looking at other factors. So far, mobile system seems to be the most viable option.
Okay.
Parents also working from home, so parents are using their laptops to communicate, send emails, and things like that. So what most schools trying to use a mobile device. Most of them are using Google Classroom or WhatsApp platform with their class. I know I work with Mesland International, and I know they have their classes on WhatsApp. Teachers send a pre-recorded video and also come online. Children will send back voice messages, say, okay, I've done this, and then it goes on like that. So there's so many platforms. The most viable is mobile, because at least one person in a particular household has an access to a mobile phone that can access the internet. And so most schools are leveraging on WhatsApp or classes or Google Classroom to educate their children.
Charity?
I'll be talking from the studio here, Dr. Oluriola. We know teaching is two-way thing, the students and the teachers. In this way, the teachers are ready to teach using the technology. Do you think the students are ready in the sense that can they assimilate and understand what you are teaching via the phone?
Yes, I believe so. It depends on the instructional strategy used by the teacher. And so let's look at this technology. Let's not look at it as something different from the normal educational aids we use. Technology now, it's just a medium of transferring the content or the instruction you want to pass. We have always used one form of instructional aid or the other to help to enhance our teaching. So in the use of technology, we know that the instructional strategy will be a bit different from the classroom strategy, because in the classroom, the traditional classroom, you could have you see the kids touch and all that. So when you are using technology this time around, you still have to look for a way to make it engaging. I know that a lot of schools and teachers are doing what the best they can, but there are some that are a bit static. So when you put the content up there and they don't see your face or get to hear your voice, there's this, because we need to understand that there's a social and emotional learning also that comes up in the classroom. So you can see the person's reflection. Is the person understanding or not? This is more difficult with technology. So that is why, as much as possible, if there is a way, whatever application you choose to use to continue this learning, or as a teacher or as a school, it has to be something that affords for you to be able to interact with those kids. So they get to, there are different levels, but the ultimate is when at least they can get to see your face. Oh, this is Auntie Tony talking to me, you know, that kind of a thing. And you can talk to them, they can respond back, you can give immediate feedback and all that. So when the interactivity is there, there's more engagement than when basically you are left alone to self-study, especially for the younger ones.
So how do you assess them now?
Oh, we have assessment also will have to change a bit. Yes, because the way you would arrange a plan for your assessment, we had this discussion and somebody said, oh, there was no access, so some people missed the online test they gave. I said, no, you can't do that. You know, we can do one test, 40 marks. You can't do that because we know the challenges we have with internet access, with light access. If you have a continuous assessment that normally is 40 marks, you can break it down into 4 parts. If the person misses one, there's a likelihood that he'll make. And then the format and the styling. I can do online quizzes. I can decide, oh, do this thing on the paper, take a snapshot of it, and let me see. I can say, oh, record yourself explaining this process. So I have to look at different formats at which I can use to assess their engagement or understanding with the content. So it's not just one way as it used to be traditionally. There has to be creativity in play at this point in time.
Okay, I'll be going to Oreoluwa.
Okay, what's your question?
Oreoluwa, I want to ask you that you are a teacher, educational instructor, and you know how these kids are doing at this time. So why do you think online teaching now is so essential? Let's forget about COVID-19. Let's go away from that. Why do you think it is essential to educational sector? Especially,
we are beginning to look at post-COVID-19.
Yes, post-COVID-19.
Are we going to say it should stop after COVID-19 because COVID-19 has brought us together and say education must go on despite the pandemic? Yeah, all right.
Thank you for that. Before we get post-pandemic, can I just say that this is the first time the world is seeing this much collaboration. So you have the traditional school setting, you have the online school and the home school. At this time, the three are working together, the education of children. Someone once said, the 21st century illiterate is not someone who can read or write, but someone who cannot learn, relearn, and unlearn. I very much doubt that we will this period and the way things work. There's going to be a lot of innovation and creativity going into play, not just in the educational sector, but across all sectors. For instance, I got a text message, a WhatsApp message from my children's hospital, and the doctor informed us that we would now have telemedicine, which is consultation through WhatsApp and video call on Zoom from my children's hospital. So when you relate that to all other sectors, education, I think, will be a trailblazer, and other sectors will also have to come on board with digital training. This is now, we are fully into the global world. The digital world is here and it's here to stay. And can I just mention that according to statistics, retention from online learning is between 20 to 60% higher than the traditional class. So even though our children are not in class right now, research and data suggest that they're actually learning more. Yeah. Because this is a level playing field, all kinds of learners, visual learners, the audio literature, as the kind of learning. This is a level playing field. So you have a child who is usually shy in class. That child will feel more confident to type question to the teacher. You have a child who who likes to talk. Why not give the child an opportunity to take 2 minutes introduction into the class today? So you see that there are different ways our children are part of this better, more equipped, even more effective. I give a child to sit down and say, oh, this doctor experiencing this issue. I'm going to develop a program that will solve this issue. After all, and full classroom was created by somebody. So I see a time where even the learners will take charge of their learning because they can really see that knowledge is practical. They can see the world around them, they can feel the world around them. They're so involved. So I very much doubt that we're going back to where we're coming from. We'll be moving forward and we'll be going better.
All right,
Dr. Oluriola, so whether we like it or not, in every disadvantage, there's always an advantage.
Yes.
So, education is not going to remain the same again after COVID-19, and that's from a plus side.
Yes.
From the experience we have seen from this e-learning.
Yes, yes. I told someone, I said, like you said, there's always a plus side or an advantage. Like she just rightly said, most of other industries have already been disrupted with technology. Mm-hmm. And the places that we are raising these children to go and work, this present scenario of e-learning, engaging online and all that, it's already been in place in these industries. Mm-hmm. Technology has disrupted banking. I don't know how long you went to queue on the bank, you went to bank to queue for, you could just stay at home and do what you do. And then, so this period is forcing us to also allow this disruption into our education sector because the education sector has been slow. So we have been pushed, and now we are beginning to embrace it. And our children engaging in this form are beginning to learn how to engage online, how to engage with technology. And so we're actually developing in them the 21st century skills needed for that, for the workforce. So it will not become strange anymore when they begin to have conference meetings with their bosses or international organizations and all that, because this is something they were already familiar with during their learning period.
Okay, Ololuwa, let's just finish with you with some few questions and we'll allow you go. Now, how do you cope with the pranks of these pupils? In classrooms, because it's a facial thing, you can easily control them. But I know that some teachers have faced some pranks. Don't do this here, don't post this here. This is a copied message. I mean, these are the challenges for the teachers involved in e-teaching, so to say. So how do you cope with that?
I don't see it I don't see it as controlling behavior. I see it as modifying behavior rather than control, because children are just to control. It's that you're trying to get them to fit in with, then they go haywire with you. So I see that initially, teacher has to establish the boundaries, there are rules and regulations to this platform, and there will be consequences if you don't align. As we said, this is an opportunity for children and for students to be expressive. The world has gone beyond a teacher standing in front of the class and just giving out information. This is the time, this is the era of collaborative learning. So teachers want to hear back from the children, to engage with the children, but with certain methods and procedures in place. You can even tell the children, you know what, everybody come up with 2 rules for our classroom. And then once a child is breaking rule, you say, oh, Tola, can you remember your rule? What is Shani doing now? She's breaking your rule. So I want you to be in charge of your own rule. Make sure everybody keeps your class. In a new era, we have to embrace it. So I see teachers creative.
All right, then definitely, well, the cost implication here on both ends. How is it like?
The cost implication.
Yeah, on both ends from the, of course, it's the parents that will have data, and of course, definitely you teachers must also have data. I don't know if these schools provide for their teachers, they're on their own. And of course, as time goes on, e-learning for now, in most cases, is free. But I know in one or two schools, they pay heavily, even as e-learning is going on. So what should we be expecting?
We should be expecting some form of, no doubt it's expensive, but again, according to statistics, e-learning is actually a cheaper alternative. We're removing the cost of transportation, we're removing human resources, the back is going to be who is going to drop them, you're not buying fuel, all these factors are not in place. Then again, you're still spending on data. Then let's not forget, time is also money. A lot of parents have to buy their time managing the home and also getting the children to sit with their homes or online. The cost implication will be, I see in the future, telecommunication companies helping us with more sustainable data rates and more sustainable data plans. And it's a plan where maybe an educational empowerment where data and even the tools necessary. I think some banks now can decide, okay, if you give that, you pay back yourself. So I see partnership, both community and private sector and the government need to find a more sustainable alternative.
Okay, as I allow you go to this edition of the program, what will be your message as an educator? And of course, especially, I know that you also specialize in this Montessori thing, because when I come back, I want to look at this e-learning. We want to look at this e-learning as it concerns higher institution, especially from doctorate. But what will be your message to the parents here as an educator for this e-learning to gain ground, and of course for them to see it as an integral part of all-round development of their wards?
Thank you. Like Dr. Olori said, either or online or global digital has come to stay. Even parents are going to have to face changes they have to work. So I want parents to see it as a win-win situation. Some parents who have never used their, their phone place to send broadcast to their customers. Now we have beautiful babies. I can tell that from this e-learning classroom, I'm getting to see, there are so many sites. Oh, I didn't even know how to do this. So I see a win-win situation. Both parents, this is not the time to be upset with them. No, if I'm talking in class, why are you talking? Encourage them, let's be patient with them. And let's also apply digital systems into our own business and our life.
Thank you very much, Oreoluwa Atsu, a certified homeschool educator and founder, Apple Road Baby. Thank you very much for being part of the program this morning. Thank you. How is Lagos? How is the lockdown?
We have a bit of movement, but I'm staying indoors. I'm not ready to go out here.
Okay, thank you very much, Oreoluwa. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, let me come back to, yes, we'll be talking about e-learning as regards primary, secondary. Now, it's not going to be easy when your students come back from this long holiday, of course, pandemic holiday, so to say, post-COVID-19. So, is there any form of e-learning tool for these guys in higher institution? Or will it remain the same again when they just come and lecture starts?
Oh, I wish it wouldn't remain the same. Because we have a lot more to benefit at the higher education level if we do look into embracing e-learning. And at that point, we can things like blended learning, where you do some form of face-to-face and some form of, it has always existed, and it's something we can maximize. We have the challenges of overpopulation sometimes in our lecture halls. I've been in that situation. And so I'm standing in front of maybe almost 1,000 students. No matter how I amplify my voice even with the speaker, you know that you still have a number of disengaged students there who aren't really on task. And so if we have the option of, okay, I have the face-to-face and I have the e-learning application, so those who are disengaged, because a lot of factors come with learning, you know. So a teacher being in front of a group of students does not automatically mean that the students are actually engaged with learning and are learning the content. But if they have a way of going back to assess these materials, you know, or your recordings of your lecture and all that, and you would see that there will be an improvement in the learning. Of course, some people will say, if that is there, then they will not come to class because we have the percentage, you have to attendance and all that. But there's still a way we can manage both. Because there are some things, if they don't come to class, they'll miss out from. But then they don't miss out totally because they can always go back. You know, she said something beautifully when she was addressing. It doesn't only reflect on the lower levels where you have student improvement of improved learning outcomes using technology. You have the same thing because, for instance, I come in and my lecture hour is like 1 hour. I stand in front of them, I say what I have to say, and I walk away. That's it for that day. I come for my next lecture and I deliver, I continue from where I stopped. But people who had missed out from what I said or something, if they had a recording of this or somewhere they could go back and play it over and over and over, you would see that the learning will be improved. And we see better outcomes. We have issues with our graduates leaving university and then they can't fit into the workforce because they are not used to the environment of the workforce. We have not created a simulation of that.
Is it their fault or the infrastructural deficiency? Because for e-learning to be successful, I know that there could be a kind of situation where, yes, you still meet face-to-face, you can meet one-on-one, you can meet in group, but most of the learnings could be done via e-learning. I mean, teachings, lecturing could be done online, but have we developed to that state? Is that not why some of these graduates will come out and will not fit into the society?
Yes, infrastructure in universities is one of our major challenges. And sometimes I think it's because we really aren't focusing on the needful. And then I hope I'm not caught for this, but we are spending, if you have a small solution, or a solution that at least will take you 2 steps ahead and will not cost so much. Sometimes we wait until we want to do the big thing so that we can claim we have a state-of-the-art technology set up in our infrastructure in our school. We can start gradually and build so that while we wait for that big thing, at least our students are learning to engage in this manner.
Oh, okay, Charity will come with her question, but let me tell our viewers out there that you can also be part of the program. My producer will open the lines now. Many of you out there are parents, and of course you've been having one form of experience or the other as far as this e-learning is concerned, especially at this COVID-19 pandemic period. What has been your experience? What are your observations? Then, if you have any question too, we have Dr. Mrs. Oluru in-house. So let's have your contributions, let's have your questions as we continue the program. COVID-19, e-learning as an alternative to classroom teaching. Yeah. Charity. Dr.
Oluriola, we know that when you are in classrooms, there are some set of students who will not listen. While online, do you think you cover all those who listen in the class or those who do not listen? Do you think online you cover these 2 segments and bridge the gap?
Well, I believe so, because like I said, there are many factors that you come into a class, it's already full, you are seated at the back, you are straining to hear what it is the lecturer is saying in front. Some of us, we've seen pictures of our lecture rooms, where some people are sitting on the window, hanging by the door. There's a tendency that after a while, they don't make any effort to try to engage with that learning format. But we know our students constantly engage with their phones. I've done the research. I took data from my campus to know, like, okay, how many students have access to technology. Some of them have more than one device. They have the computer, they have the mobile. They have the tablet, they have the mobile phone. So they have this technology already in their pockets, in their hands. So what we need to do is look at how we will leverage. We are not providing for them. We just want to leverage what they already have. So if, like I said, you already have this high population and you don't have the infrastructure to have this small group discussions, you can use the technology to engage students in small groups, give projects that they can be grouped in and they work, you know, online together, collaborate online, teach them these skills. He talked about, is it their fault? It's because we are not really engaging them. We have what we call the 21st century workforce skills. And collaboration is one. Use of ICT is another. You know, so we continue on the traditional format. They leave school and the workforce says they are unemployable. Not because they don't have a good certificate, but they don't have the skills to work in it. That's simply because we have not enabled them as higher education institutions to do that. We have not, you know, given them the examples or even modeled it in front of for them. Okay. But they have these devices already. But instead we sit and complain, oh, these students don't want to read. All they want to be doing is WhatsApping. All they want to be doing is watching movies on their, they're always on their phones. You know, we hear our colleagues complain regularly about that. And my own take is, why don't you reach them there? So if they're always on their phones, give them something to be doing on that phone. Instead of complaining that that is the reason why they are not performing as they should. Things have changed and we have to be aware of it and move with the change.
I know as an educationalist, you must have been in some conferences within or outside the country to talk about e-learning as far as Africa is concerned. Do you think in Africa we are there? Let's look at, we know that some higher institutions, some private schools are using this technology to teach some. But do you think this our public schools are taking advantage of this? And how do you think, what level are we?
This pandemic has actually revealed the gap, the divide. You know, so when I look at my platforms, because like I'm in some global communities of educators, and I look at their complaints and I smile, and I'm wondering what we should be doing here. But again, talking about conferences, when I go for some of these conferences abroad, I see, especially where they have students sections, where they allow students come present and everything, I see primary school students, I see secondary students stand to present. Or showcase the works they've done creating knowledge or creating products with technology. And I know that, like I know that this is not because our kids are not as intelligent. It's because they don't have the exposures these ones have already had. So to them, technology becomes like a normal thing. So they are not only engaging with it to watch films or play games, they're actually using it to create. They are creators, not just consumers. And that's because of exposure. And you know, thank God we see this happening now. So even beyond the classroom, we have people setting up hubs for kids so that they come engage with this technology and then begin to see how they can problem solve. There are competitions that help students think about problems in the society and how technology can help solve those problems. So there is that gap, there is that divide. But I'm happy that we are beginning to wake up to it. I'm glad that we're beginning to wake up to it, because there are things that even our secondary schools should be doing at this stage.
Let's take this call, Dr. Mrs. Sunday is calling from Akute. So, hello, Sunday.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome to the program. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say about all the you know, all these things are just for private schools. But what do you do for the government?
Hello?
Are you hearing me? I said all this e-learning things are just for private schools.
Yeah.
But not of the people that are going to government schools.
All right. Thank you. She
was discussing that already.
Yes, she will answer that. Especially, is it not because it is successful because the teachers have manageable number. And of course, when you go to private primary school, you look at the number that you have to teach, even if it is available. But I'll allow you to answer that.
But you see, the manageable number is where technology comes in to solve the problem. Because I can be on my tech and I can have 500 people sign up in my class, as against managing 500 people in the traditional classroom. So that's one of the advantages of technology. And everybody is hearing me and seeing my screen and seeing my presentation and all that. Those who are visually sighted can increase have visual impairment, can increase the screen or set the screen to be easy for them to access, unlike trying to look at my whiteboard from a distance. So technology solves quite a lot of that issues. Then talking about public-private school, the truth is that it's a mindset. We just believe that, it's for the elites, it's for private schools. There are a lot of free tools out there that public schools can also use, because public school teachers have these devices. Public school students too have access to mobile phones, even if they don't have to computers. So I think it's a mindset. And okay, for instance, I will just mention one I know. Lagos State, for instance, they're doing something with their public school teachers so that they can also begin to engage their public school students on this e-learning platform. I know Ogun State is also
There's another caller here. Shola is calling from
class. So it's not about private school.
Let's take this call. Shola from Ogun State. Hello, Shola.
Shola from Ijuota.
Hello, Shola.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, speak louder, please, and of course, go ahead with your contribution.
Okay.
Shola, can you speak up, please?
I think we're having a challenge there with
Dr.
Shola.
Oluriola, let me talk about ICT. We know that in public schools, private schools, we talk about ICT and they take it as a subject. Do you think ICT it will help, or has helped, or will help the students at this time?
Well, unfortunately, most times when we take ICT as a subject, we look at it as only a subject and not something to be applied. You understand? So sometimes for some schools it just ends at the textbook. You go to some schools, they do have a technology computer lab, but it's locked. And it's only when quality assurance comes they open it up and dust off those things. So I don't want the students to spoil it.
To spoil it.
And so it's just bank knowledge. You know that you've seen it on the book that this is a mouse. But in other places where you teach ICT, you don't teach ICT, you teach using ICT. So automatically, if I'm learning something else, I've already learned how to use the mouse. I'm learning how to impute. I'm already learning how to use the keyboard. So the ICT itself is actually invisible. The content that I'm learning is what is most important. So sometimes we have hyped this ICT thing to make it look as if, oh, this is a special, this is a mouse, this is a keyboard, computer, that kind of a thing. It's beyond that. We should change that mindset.
The experience we have with these kids when they get hold of our smartphones, and of course even go to some applications that you don't even know. Isn't it enough to tell us that now they should be exposed
even a 2-year-old
Thank you very much. Because I remember many years ago, I didn't have an iPad. A friend of mine came in and my daughter, I don't know, and then she was about 2. I was actually amazed. How do you know how to swipe this, go straight to her pictures and began to scroll the pictures? We never had one. So she wouldn't say, okay, she learned it from mom. The person came in visiting me, she picked it up and she was in. So these children are wired that way. And so if we just give them the exposure they need, we'll be amazed at what they can do with the knowledge. Let's just not be afraid, because we are learning the skills, they were born into it. So just because we have our reservations doesn't mean that they are afraid of that technology. As a matter of fact, they are not afraid of use of technology. They are more curious and inquisitive about what it can do.
The lesson this particular time has taught us, shouldn't that be a push for stakeholders in education, especially the government, actually see that, okay, we should infuse e-learning too, even if we have to start gradually. But one of the most important things is to train and retrain the teachers, especially in the primary school.
Especially everywhere. Train and retrain the teachers. Like I do a lot of teacher training, and I know that I work in the Faculty of Education. And I know that the content, sorry to say, by the time you are through, you really are not ready for the present day education.
Okay, you come back to answer this question. Let's take let's take Abe from Ijebufe. Hello, Abe. Hello, Abe, are you still on? I think we lost. Go ahead.
So, because no matter the quantity of technology you have, if you don't have the teachers who can effectively use it, you will not get the outcome you are looking for. So, yes, technology does not teach. Teachers teach, but they would use technology to teach. And if they don't know how to effectively use technology to teach, then you would actually even not get the positive response. It might even backfire. So retraining teachers, because in our institutions, I don't know how many teachers come out from our institutions. What is the ICT competence that you require from a teacher on graduation? Is there any policy saying before you get your certificate of education, you have to have this ICT competence? It's somewhere written somewhere. That I know. But do we follow it up? So sometimes, there was a time we did the nationwide training for teachers, and we went from one state to the other. And you find out that even in some places, they don't even know how to use the mouse. While I'm not looking down or speaking down, but you see, these are the things that we need to begin to model in our teacher training institutes, from the College of Education to the Faculty of Education, because these are the people who are going to implement these things. So if I don't use it to teach my teachers, I don't model it for them, how would they learn in the classroom to come and model it for the students they want to teach in the classrooms? So it still stands back, it goes back all the way to the training process. And so, knowing that there's a gap for that, we have to start to look at how to retrain. We need to start looking at, as a government, as stakeholders, how to retrain our teachers so that they can effectively fit in to the new education. Because there's a new norm.
There's a new norm.
So there's this quote that has always been on and is becoming real today, that says that technology will not replace teachers, but teachers who use technology will replace teachers who do not use technology. And so we are going to see that happening now.
Okay, doctor, I want to ask you this. Are learners now, do you have any penalty for those who are not online at all? You've thrown the first lesson, the second lesson, the third lesson, and they are not showing, let me not say interest, they don't have that means to come online. Do you have penalty for them?
You shouldn't give a penalty, because as you must also understand that the challenge is, like just for a normal traditional class, you have a student missing on Monday, student is missing on Tuesday, didn't show up on Wednesday, and then you shouldn't penalize such a student. First and foremost, as an educator who is really concerned about the heart of that child and the well-being, it isn't just about that, oh, I'm teaching physics and you must be in my physics class. Why haven't you been in class? What is the challenge? How can I help you?
So at this instance, how do you reach out to them?
There must have been a way. Somebody somewhere, I'm sure we do our registrations and all that. Okay. And there's a contact number, a guardian or a parent. You give a call. What is the challenge of this person? And then as a government also, we should have what we call palliative measures for these education sectors. And at least there should be something that, there's a challenge here. What can we tap into to provide a solution?
Yeah, we thought we had it. Go ahead.
Okay. So what can we, for instance, a child who maybe nobody within his vicinity or environment has access to such, is there any way that there can be a support in that area? And I'm sure these are things that the government can look into and can do. I know that some state governments that have tried to give access to students and all that. And again, our network providers, is there a way they can look into making data, have data bundles for education sector, maybe as with a student ID or whatever it is and everything, where a normal person would be paying maybe 1,000 for 3 gig.
Sustainable.
Yes, maybe for students or maybe an arrangement through schools or whatever, they cannot have access to that same data at a
cheaper
rate. I know that some of these things have been rolled out in recent times, where there are some sites you can go, I know Mobile or Airtel or something that you can go to some sites, but how can we spread it? Because not everybody will be on that learning side. Some schools want to run their own program. Your public schools want to run their own program. Can these network providers work with the state governments so that the public schools can have, it's possible. This is not something that cannot be done. We just need to begin to look into such solutions to make it easy for people.
Well, is it not, I don't know, I'm looking for the right word to use, because most of our discussion have actually focused on primary, secondary. And once again, my mind go back to the higher institution. I also have maybe 1 or 2 in the higher institution. Of course, and I was actually waiting for, Daddy, can I have data on my phone? Our class was going to be on between 3 and 5, and our lecturer on so course is going to actually give us notes. I didn't hear that from the higher institution perspective. Isn't that worrisome?
Our case is more complicated, that's why. Okay, yes, a lot of primary, secondary are beginning to look into it. Our institutions, well, it depends again. On one side, we have ASU, who are on strike. So that's, in a way, is affecting. So with the pandemic, with its strike, it's a complicated issue. But then you have the non-ASU members, non-ASU schools, and institutions too. I think they're being overwhelmed at this point because it's, like we said, it's more like a sudden push into, wow, we have this problem. And our infrastructure had not been in place from time. Although you have some schools that have some form of infrastructure, but I just don't think that we are looking inwards enough to find a solution to address this particular need. Because sometimes like I said, what you're looking for in Sokoto, sometimes it's in your Sokoto. But we have the tendency of always wanting to look to Sokoto.
That is in Sokoto, even though
to address,
we know
and
that
then we can do something with what is in our
Sokoto.
So I think that's what most of the higher institutions are facing. The other levels, they are quickly grabbing on what is available to use, and they're doing that. But our institutions, I'm part of them, but it's interesting to note, like you said, and I think parents too should be concerned, but I believe they are cooking up something, and when it's done, most of us will
be served.
Doctor, as we wrap up on the program this morning, what is the way forward, looking at e-learning, Africa and Nigeria in particular? What should we look out for? What should be our strength on this, and what should we just discard on educational sector and focus on e-learning? What is our strength?
Well, in Africa, to say, there are some countries that actually, even before this COVID, have begun to work strongly on their e-learning side. And so the COVID didn't really take them aback so much like that. In Nigeria, we actually have been paying lip service to most of those things. And I'm happy this is happening, so that we begin to look. But my concern, like I would always say, I hope this is not just a COVID palliative. I hope it would...
It has come to stay.
It has come to stay.
Because
there may be a tendency that once everything returns back to...
We'll go back to our shell.
Just all the government programs, policies, and all that would come to a halt, and everybody goes back to as it was in the beginning. But I'm hoping, and I do pray, that this window that has opened for us to begin to address these issues that we have in our educational sector, that it continues even beyond this time.
That we should let the positive stay with us.
Yes.
The positive of COVID-19 pandemic is the introduction of e-learning, and we're beginning to see the benefit. We hope that beyond COVID-19, it will stay. That's what Dr. Mrs. Oluriola has just rounded off with, talking about the topic today, COVID-19, e-learning as alternative to classroom teaching. Of course, we will also say a big thank you to Mrs. Oreoluwa Asu, who actually joined us through Skype from Lagos. And of course, she also discussed so many things, especially from the perspective of being a certified homeschool educator. Once again, I want to thank you. I know you're still watching us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. And of course, Dr. Mrs. Oluriola wants to thank you very much too.
Thank you for having me.
So that will be a wrap on the program today. Let us remember, COVID-19 is teaching us so many lessons. What are we learning from this pandemic? Let's learn the positives and let the positives stay with us. So we'll see you next Wednesday.